Hello everybody, this is my last video of this year and I will call this video Isolation versus Solitude. We will explore this little subject, but first of all let me thank my beloved friend Michelle for this wonderful scarf, a very nice color for the solitude subject, and of course and thank you all subscribers. And I hope that would be a nice, thoughtful little sharing. Let me just quote something from the beginning, as I always do, and I put my glasses on. Pope Benedict XVI. Without God, man neither knows which way to go, nor even understands who he is. One of the deepest forms of poverty a person can experience is isolation. It is not by isolation that a man establishes his worth, but placing himself in relationship with others and with God. And here I am talking about isolation and solitude. The difference between isolation and solitude is that solitude is a relationship with oneself. Isolation is sort of defensive. It's a kind of punishment. It is a kind of a dull, defensive position of us all. It's very often a position with what we call a public narcissist or soft narcissist or altruistic narcissist, anything which is hidden, a passive aggressive, because we have that kind of narcissism about us, as we all here to deal with our puerus aeternus and puella aeterna, as Jung would put it, and we all have those elements. We feel that people don't understand us, and we are always hard by, and we are heavy duty, demanding adoration and praise. So we very often isolate, and not a good idea. So it's a kind of punitive situation, it's defensive situation, whereas a solitude as such is an aloneness which one chooses purposefully, and it's slightly different to meditation as much. Meditation, which is common and fantastic experience, and often at the moment people practice, is in a way very often group situation, but solitude, it's been with us and with people for centuries, and various people experience solitude as a means to get in touch with oneself, as a means of silence, as a means of being just in the moment. Many artists often say that the great things come out of solitude. Solitude, as Brené Brown once said, is the sort of a full belonging to oneself, that we are willing to stand alone in the wildness of life, and we are searching. So solitude is connected with searching, with becoming a searcher. Whereas isolation has nothing to do with searcher, nothing to do with anything, but rather with a profound sense of victimhood. Aldous Huxley once said, and I quote, "The more powerful and original a mind, the more it will incline towards the religious of solitude." Interesting that he said a religious of solitude. Pablo Picasso, a great artist, of course, always said that without the solitudes, no great work of art is possible. He knew, a very busy man, and always surrounded himself by people, but nevertheless understood and practiced solitude. And I think that until we become comfortable with being alone, we cannot actually know oneself, and neither would be in a position to know somebody else. And it's different to the loneliness and solitude, because that means that We can go into relationship from this position, and as I say, two lonely people do not make a very happy marriage. Two lonely people would be murdering themselves, because each of them unconsciously will be absolutely expecting to be received by each other, to be praised by each other, and it will create absolutely a disaster. Solitude often also is about being able to grieve. I know something about it, as I lost my sister, and this year my time is spent a lot on with a space where I feel that the solitude is necessary, and the only way I can actually burn my tears, so to speak, burn my grief, internalize, let go, become transformed by it. And it is a profound experience. Loneliness does not parent oneself. Solitude does. In solitude, although very often people do not understand the loneliness, isolation versus solitude, the solitude is about richness of the self. The loneliness and isolation is precisely the opposite. Is the situation where we are impoverished and poor. If we don't have times of solitude, and remember, even Jesus went to 40 days of solitude, and many people go into silence retreats and experience solitude. Many sages and gurus and philosophers and grand artists really value the solitude as a tremendous gift from oneself to oneself. If we just thrash into loneliness, or what we call an anorexic behavior, that's punitive. That is extremely immature and self-destructive situation. Kipling once said that if we are just in the loneliness, or if we're just in the ego, that we just are like islands, and we are just throwing and shouting lies at each other, and we are really swimming or throwing those lies across the sea of misunderstanding. Normally, as I would say, and many others before me, is that the strength of the man, it's actually shown in the standing alone. If you cannot experience solitude, and you need perpetually be surrounded by people, or perpetually be busy, or perpetually be unreflective, you actually probably would not develop very well. As Lao Tse once said, nature does not hurry. Look at nature. Nature does not hurry, and everything is accomplished anyhow. So in a sense, the solitude gives us maybe connection to ourselves, to the nature in us, and to the fact that we are part of nature. So we have to kind of cherish that understanding. We don't come to anything unless we experience those moments. Buddhist approach to solitude, to silence, is extremely wise, because they always say that silence is not really empty. Silence, it's full of answers. So where would we find those answers? We're perpetually doing just selfie and work and go out and busy. We are not coming to know ourselves. And solitude is one of the most profound means to do that. Although also it's important to know that the relationship helps us to see who we are. So it's about strength. It's not about being alone, but it's about being strong. It's like, bringing the light from ourselves. And as many people say, isolation will not give you connection to your inner light. And how can you give light to others, as people always say in this new age language, peace and life, peace and happiness. Well, you not actually give light unless you start glowing yourself, and that's some doing. The truth is not really given. The truth is always found. The truth is always built, as French people would say. That we cannot actually come to any truth if we isolate. Quite the contrary, we're quite lost. So although you see those words are similar in the sense that many people use them again in exchange sense, they mean completely different thing. When the solitude is experienced, we also can appreciate that everything comes to us in the right moment. We don't need to push life, we don't need to program, we don't need to demand. So it teaches us patience. It teaches us gratitudes. It gives us a means of grieving. It gives us a means of reflecting. It means that we can go deeper into ourselves. And as English people have a lovely proverb, still waters runs deep. You see, so we don't have to be perpetually busy. You become extremely dangerous for other people if you give solitude a space, because you will know your feeling. And if you know your feeling, other people would not be able to control you. If you just isolate, you don't know your feelings. So the stillness of solitude is extremely important, because it gives us tremendous transformative power. One of the saying in entire thing of Malaysian is that you have to be very still to fight a tiger. So if you think about life as a tiger, so imagine that you are completely and utterly prepared to fight it. You need to really know how to be still, because otherwise you will be scattered, and it is important that we know, we learn what's going on. And solitude gives us this chance, as Confucius put it. It's very stressful to explain what's going on to people who have no idea who they are, because how can you explain what's going on if you only live in your head? You can't. You need to know who you are to do that. You sort of have to be in the process of becoming and the process of transformation, and that kind of peace of mind, that kind of certeinness is achieved through solitude, especially when you're in grief. And it gives us a chance to transform it, and a grief as such is not a sign of weakness. Grief is tremendously important, and it's one of the most important feeling for the healing. Grief is about transformation. Grief transforms us. So remember that not to be frightened, even in the COVID situation. Yeah, maybe the COVID can give us a bit of a nice position that we can experience solitude. Because we are frightened of loneliness, solitude gives us a kind of way of sometimes spiritual awakening. As Rumi put it, be still. So you can crumble a bit. Isolation is completely opposite, as some put it. Some writer, I don't remember the writer, that it's about total wretchedness. As solitude vilifies, isolation kills. I will read you something at the end, and we will say a serenity prayer. Solitude is about protection. To protect your energy, it's okay to cancel a commitment. It's okay to not answer a call. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to want to be alone. It's okay to take day as it comes. It's okay to do nothing. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to let go. Let's say a serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.